Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the Jordan 1 Travis Scott Fragment collab, also known as the Jordan 1 Cactus Jack Fragment. Specifically, we will be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions as always. The Jordan 1 Travis Scott Fragment is currently set to release on July 29th, although this date is still subject to change. For any changes, make sure to subscribe and enable post notifications, this way you don't miss out. Retail will be $200, and since we are pretty far out from the release, I do not have the exact stock numbers just yet, but I will keep you guys updated, of course. Regarding resale, we will cover that more towards the end of the video, as always, and it's already looking incredible as you may have imagined. With the release info out of the way though, let us jump into how to cop the Jordan 1 Travis Scott Fragments. First, regarding any raffles, I will tweet out a list on my Twitter, KeithAdam10 and Personals for You. Unfortunately, when it comes to these very hyped and limited releases, the vast majority of retailers do resort to conducting raffles for the limited amount of stock that they do receive, allowing them to backdoor the vast majority of stock and the rest of stock being botted by raffle bots. The most notable raffle will likely be at 12 a.m. Eastern Time, and that is the Travis Scott site raffle. They'll likely load a new domain or just drop it on the Shop Travis domain and open the raffle for a finite period of time, usually a couple of hours or so. Try to make as many entries as you can on different IP addresses. This is very important. You can use a proxy switcher to achieve this, otherwise you do risk getting your entries filtered out. This raffle is also easily botted as well, so unfortunately you should not have high expectations. Throwback to the actual first come first serve releases on this site that they used to have, those definitely used to be the best. You do not know that you are in the good old days until they're over.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
Anyway, I'll of course tweet out when they do go live, and of course, if they do happen to do a first come first serve, which would be an absolute miracle, I'll tweet that out too, of course. Aside from the raffles though, let us discuss the potential first come first serve releases. We'll go in chronological order. I say potential because unlike the Jordan 6, these actually are not yet confirmed to be releasing at other retailers just yet. I'm assuming they will be confirmed soon, and if they do, we'll know exactly which ones are dropping, and they're going to be the ones I'm about to lay out for you guys right now, because these are the ones that typically do drop these Travis Nike or Travis Jordan collabs. So starting with 6 a.m. Eastern Time, potentially, we have a drop that does ship worldwide. This would be Dover Street Market eFlash. As for other Europe sites with Europe shipping, we'll discuss those later. Dover Street Market London usually drops at about 6 a.m. Eastern Time or 12 p.m. CEST. Although that's the normal drop time, as of recently, and by recently I mean the past year or so, they've been dropping from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, sometimes around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 3 to 4 p.m. CEST. So if you don't see a drop at 6 a.m., it might be worth looking out for those times as well. Although they did not drop the recent Jordan 6 Travis Scott, they did drop the very first Jordan 1 Travis Scott, so it's certainly worth preparing for just in case they do end up dropping these as well. Especially if you do have a Shopify bot, you'll definitely want to prepare for this. Dover Street Market eFlash is again a Shopify site, so expect it to be a near impossible manual cop, but still worth a try. It'll be botted very heavily. They normally don't even use the checkpoint anymore, and they haven't used proxy protection in ages, so again, it's going to be very difficult to cop. And also, if you are planning to camp in a monitor, if you happen to be going manual, don't use the add to cart links for Dover Street Market. The normal add to cart links will not work. You must add to cart manually for Dover Street Market eFlash. Now, as for Dover Street Market eFlash New York, on the other hand, it is normally at 11 a.m. Eastern Time rather than 6 a.m. Eastern Time. It is the same exact setup essentially. The only difference is the domain, the time obviously, and the fact that they only do ship within the US, unlike the other domain. Regardless if Dover Street Market does a raffle for these or not, it is still very possible that they will be dropping, since they did drop the prior Jordan 1 Travis Scott high. This release is not confirmed though, and it certainly won't be your best chance anyway. I just want to provide as much info as possible for this, of course, and again, they did drop the Jordan 1 high Travis Scott back in 2019, so it's possible they may for these as well. Normally, I would say then at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we would be seeing Undefeated drop. However, with these very hype drops on Undefeated, they usually tend to be in the afternoon. The most common time for things like Travis collabs are normally at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:15, 12:30, or 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So be on the lookout for those times. They almost always save some stock for the raffle for online stock as well. The prior Jordan 1 high Travis Scott Undefeated drop was at 12 12 p.m. Eastern Time on the dot, just for reference. That would be the ideal time to camp and monitors for a potential drop. Before this time, make sure you are signed into your Undefeated account, as it is required for this site to check out. Be ready to solve a checkpoint H CAPTCHA as well. If you don't have access to a Shopify monitor, you can try refreshing the search page for AJ1 High, but your chances of copying are going to be very slim since it is Shopify. Regardless though, there shouldn't be anything else dropping at these potential times for Undefeated, so definitely cannot hurt to at least try. Especially when the drop time is random, it certainly allows for a better manual chance compared to the 8 a.m. Eastern Time normal drops. Then at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we may potentially see Kith drop these, as they usually do for Travis releases. I don't believe they dropped the prior Jordan 1 High in 2019, but it still is worth preparing for since they did actually end up dropping the recent Jordan 6 Travis Scott. Regardless, all you need to know if they do end up dropping is that they will likely enable an H CAPTCHA checkpoint. They do not require accounts, and be prepared for a question pop-up as well. It's normally something very, very simple that you could just quickly Google. If you have access to a group, be sure to take advantage of the early link as well, as that will certainly give you an advantage. Also at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, but less urgent, Nike sneakers will be dropping for the US. Now, what's the most efficient way to cop off of Nike sneakers manually? I made a full in-depth video regarding this and everything inside out that you guys do need to know for this, so feel free to check it out there. However, for now, I'll just give you guys a brief rundown of what's most important for this drop in particular. Well, this drop will most likely be a Dan drop, also known as a draw release. It didn't load yet, but that is exactly how I'm expecting them to load. Dan drops, or draws, essentially give you 10 minutes to enter as many accounts as possible into the raffle. Evidently, the more accounts you can enter within that finite period, the better your chances will be. It's the law of probability. If you do need to make more accounts though, remember that Nike does require SMS verification on all the accounts, so you cannot use the same phone number twice. You will have to ask a friend of yours to use their phone number and ask them for the verification code. However, if you rather not bother your friends, or you just want a significant amount of pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts in general, feel free to check out my site TARS. The link is in the description below. Now that's about it for the US drops. Like I said, there aren't going to be many since most retailers are just going to be raffling and backdooring their pairs. However, these will be worth the reshipping costs as well, so feel free to try your luck on the Europe sites as well if you're not from Europe too. First one I wanted to mention was Soulbox. Soulbox almost always drops really hyped products first come first serve. Although they do not drop every single one, I would still highly suggest preparing for this one just in case. Make sure to make your account in advance for Soulbox and add your address and information to it. I'd highly suggest being active on the site at least 30 minutes before the drop, which is usually at 9 a.m. CEST or 3 a.m. Eastern Time. The reason being, the more active you are, the less likely you are to get caught in that captcha loop for the Perimeter X bot protection that we all hate. You may be familiar with it if you've been trying to cop on Hibbit lately. So give it your best shot, but don't be discouraged if you don't cop, because it certainly will not be easy. More importantly for Europe though, your best shot will definitely be Nike sneakers at 9 a.m. CEST. However, this will be less urgent since I'm expecting them to load as a Dan release, also known as a draw. This should provide you with 10 minutes to enter in as many accounts as possible into the draw, allowing you sufficient time to also try Soulbox at 9 a.m. CEST, if they even drop, of course. Regardless, Nike sneakers will still definitely be your best chance. Now, Offspring may potentially shock drop some raffle leftovers, but it is very unlikely given the prior drops not having this. I'd still suggest enabling Instagram notifications for them, just so you get notified in case they do end up dropping. But that is essentially it for the how to cop portion of the video. I'm sorry to disappoint, guys, but there's really not going to be too many for these. But anyway, in terms of resale, this one should really be a no-brainer for you guys. The demand is obviously absolutely insane, as you guys have likely seen on the prior Travis Scott Jordan 1 High as well. Not to mention, this being the very first Travis and Fragment collab to drop only helps more. Although I do not have the exact stock just yet, we can safely assume that these will certainly be very limited, so brace yourself for a difficult comp. In conclusion, these will be extremely profitable with an incredible margin. I'll try to make a seller hold video closer to the drop, although I would venture to guess these will likely perform very similar to how the first Travis Scott Jordan 1 High performed initially. Anyway, that will conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two, subscribe and enable post notifications just so you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, feel free to follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or free beta key drops as well. Speaking of which, we just had the Jordan 4 White Oreo cookout. Feel free to check out the success on the Twitter. Last but not least, make sure to follow KeithAdam10 and Personals for You. This way, you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that, though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck.
So big, just like a clown.